LoreWarrior Mercenaries, Stalwart Support, Conventional Warfare. After 10 years in the AFFC infantry and garrison duty on 3 different worlds, Harry Sanders came to realise that planetary governments never felt safe enough. They were always asking for more mechs, more armour, and more men. It didn't matter that the foot soldier was the least effective unit on the modern battlefield, at least they were something. So when Sanders mustered out in 3053, he bought himself a ticket to outreach and advertise for veteran infantrymen recently mustered out and looking for work. Of the more than 8,000 individuals who replied to the ad, more than 600 were willing to travel to outreach at their own expense to join Sanders' proposed mercenary infantry regiment. In true mercenary fashion, those who contributed the most money to the regiment's starting funds were made officers, and from this capital, self-promoted Colonel Sanders bought good weapons, then commissioned high-quality uniforms and slick promotional holovids. On the strength of his sales pitch and those vids alone, Sanders landed some well-paying contracts that enabled the regiment to begin purchasing specialised equipment within its first year, all without firing a single shot. So far, Sanders' credo, "look good and you can charge more," seems to be working. The unit has little trouble landing lucrative contracts, despite the fact that its strongest selling points seem to be its sharp khaki and olive dress uniform, natty camouflage uniforms, immaculate maintenance coveralls, and impeccable grooming standards. The unit insignia is a silhouetted rifleman with a gun metal grey shield riveted around the edges. The insignia is worn on sleeve patch or painted on the unit's vehicles. Battalion, company, and squad patches are all authorised as long as they pass approval by Sanders. Dragoons rate them at B-. Officers. A Capellan refugee, Lieutenant Colonel Wu Sen Lo, came to outreach with every intention of commanding a battalion and brought with him men he'd already handpicked to lead his companies, his platoons and squads. He also brought a cache of privately owned heavy infantry weaponry such as portable SRM launchers and flamers. Colonel Sanders didn't ask where the equipment came from, and hastily incorporated it into the promotional holovids and upped the hiring cost of the unit immediately. Tactics. Stalwart Support has yet to be matched against anything heavier than medium armour, but so far they've given a good account of themselves. Sanders relies on his battalion leaders for a good deal of the regiment's field tactics. They use troop transport VTOLs to spot for artillery, and then drop heavy infantry immediately into softened areas. Meanwhile, heavy jump troops flanked by regular infantry press from one of the enemy's flanks to link up with the inserted soldiers, thus claiming a solid foothold. Then the unit begins the procedure all over again, targeting another area of resistance. Support. Because of its low vehicle count, Stalwart Support doesn't require a large tech base. Soldiers care for their own weaponry and even act as assistant mechanics. This low maintenance level allows access for the regiment to be rated at 100% optimum. They have also acquired a single old Condor-class dropship, capable of transporting near half of the unit's troops and their vehicles. Stalwart Support, Regiment, Veteran, Reliable. CO, Colonel Harry Sanders. 1st Battalion, Major Kelly Fitzpatrick. XO, 2nd Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Wu Sen Lo. 3rd Battalion, Major David Johnson. Sanders' Regimental Command Platoon, as well as the independent command squads at the company and battalion levels, are motorised and equipped with laser rifles. The first companies of both 1st and 2nd Battalions are composed of 2 standard infantry platoons and 1 laser infantry platoon. These companies primarily serve as security and occupation forces, but at least 1 squad in each company specialises in recon activity. The 2nd company of each battalion contains platoons that consist of 2 laser squads, 1 flamer squad, and 1 SRM squad. These platoons are designed to deploy against armour or other heavy opposition. The 3rd company of each battalion is composed of 1 platoon of 21 heavy jump troops and 2 platoons of motorised infantry. The motorised infantry includes a single squad of VTOLs. 3rd Battalion, the Stalwart Specials, contains the various special ability soldiers that the regiment's managed to acquire. Anti-mech infantry, including 1 jump-capable squad, comprises 1st Company. Heavy artillery, demolition sabotage teams, and black operation squads comprise 2nd Company. 3rd Company is composed of conventional air support assets, including conventional fighters, and a full VTOL platoon. Stalwart Support, I bet you that's a name that you've read about a lot in some books, or you may have heard the name of before, but they're one of the more commonly referenced merc units, I believe. It's also a great name for a merc company, Stalwart Support. It just rolls off the tongue. It's really good. It's also interesting because it's a pure infantry mercenary unit. Something that a lot of the time you'd actually imagine that a vast majority of merc units out there are probably made up of mainly infantry and light vehicles. The number of actual squads that are running around with battle mechs or even a majority of vehicles is probably relatively small by comparison. So yeah, Stalwart Support is a great example of probably the near innumerable number of mercenary or private corporations that are running around with just infantry battalions that are basically on tap to be hired by whatever planetary government needs them in a pinch. Stalwart Support is a great example of, a well-designed, well-put-together veteran group basically making the use of their talents that are apparently no longer required by the great houses, but needed for everywhere else. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's just a pity that the infantry rules just don't blend so well for tabletop Battletech, but they're not difficult to use or anything. It's just they can be a little bit of it's an extra step into a game that I think for some can already feel a little bit stilted and slow. And if you're playing standard Battletech, if you're playing Alpha Strike, that's the whole different kettle of fish. But yeah, it's a cool little nod. I like the fact that it gives you that explanation at the end about how the whole thing is broken down, the type of troops they've got. Now, if only Catalyst, if anyone from Catalyst is listening, if only you'd produce a book that kind of went into detail about each of the great houses, infantry units specifically, their equipment, their uniforms, their armour, their sort of man-pack or man-pad weaponry, maybe some stuff about periphery as well, pirates, and even clan infantry. That would be nice. Just saying, if any of you listen out there, I'm sure there'd be some people who'd be really interested in that, even if it was one that was just more of a flavour text thing. Yeah? Well, for everyone else, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a good week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.